Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus A330 pilot, and welcome to our first flight with the A330 since the Sim Update 1 of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. The A330 has seen a couple of changes in there, and today we are going to take it out on a 10-hour flight from Boston to Honolulu in order to find out how the aircraft flies in the new version. So follow me inside and we are going to start setting up our aircraft right here. As you've seen from the outside, we've boarded through the door 2 left, so we've got to walk all the way up front. But believe me, this is a lot easier in the simulator than it is in the real world, where we normally board through the 4 left door, as we don't board through the terminal at my home base, but since they drive us to the aircraft with a crew bus, and then we normally board through the 4 left door. That's a little bit easier in the US indeed, where you normally just board through the normal passenger gate. So, let's get right up front and start to power our aircraft up. When power is applied, then we're going to have a look at our flight plan in order to figure out exactly what we are going to do today. So let's take a seat. Starting with the basics, the engine master levers are off, engine start switch normal, thrust levers idle, landing gear lever down, wipers are off. Battery voltages got to be above 25.5, all of them, which they are. And then we can turn on the power and also the external power. Now, while our aircraft is coming to life, we can start to import the flight plan from SimBrief into the EFB. And while we're doing that, let's bring on the SimBrief flight plan over here so that we can have a look at the full plan. We're departing Boston today, then across the Great Lakes and all across the US, right over at San Francisco, and from there we are going to cross the Pacific towards Hawaii. In terms of the weather itself, we have pretty good weather conditions for the first third of the flight. Then we're crossing a light turbulence zone over here, or I should say moderate turbulence zone, since that's the number 3 down here, and that's moderate turbulence. From there we continue via, once again, smooth 1 or 2 hours, and then right across San Francisco we can see we've got severe turbulence forecast over here while crossing that jet stream, which is 155 knots strong, so that's a really impressive jet stream over there, and we gotta be pretty careful with that one. Now, from there on, we are going to continue all across the Pacific. Over here, very good weather conditions, almost at least. Very good turbulence conditions would be a little bit more precise. So you can see the entire second half of the flight, we've got moderate turbulence forecast, which is the reason why we'll probably maintain a little lower flight level. If we can just find a flight level that's smooth over here, then we're probably just going to fly that without even bothering about any of the additional fuel impacts that may have. If we go into the airport weather, then we can see that Boston is pretty good. Wind easterly at 8 knots, only a few clouds, the sky is pretty much clear, and our destination Honolulu has a couple of gusts at the moment, but is going to become good throughout the course of the day. Our first alternate is Kaului, and they as well have pretty good weather conditions. Now, looking into the flight plan, if we depart on time, we have like 40 minutes to spare, so that's a lot of additional time. With that in mind, if we scroll all the way down to the fuel section, we are planned to depart with 158.6 thousand pounds, 1,200 pounds of taxi fuel, and if we look at it here, flying 2,000 feet below is going to cost us 1,000 pounds extra. I am going to take those 1,000 pounds just because of the possible turbulence that we may expect across the flight. So 1,000 pounds on top means we've got 158.6 plus 1.2, so 159.8, and then we have 160.8, so let's make that 161,000 pounds of fuel on board. Alright, and with that decided, let's go right down here into the payload menu, import from SimBrief, and then we'll go with 161,000. Like this. Alright, apply load, instant please, and here we go. So let's wait until it's actually loaded, that fuel, which is now very good. Alright, excellent. So while that's done, let's go ahead and start to order boarding from GSX down here so that things start to get going. And now let's go ahead and start with our preparation work here. So IRSs 1, 2 and 3 are coming on. The cockpit lights are set up. Then we do want 1 to 2.8 in COM number 1 and 1 to 1.5 in COM number 2. We want to be sure that we're listening to both of them, so let's turn the volumes up over here as well, interphone as well, and make sure that the loudspeaker is turned up as well. Alright, so the aircraft is accepted for service. Nothing in the MEL or in the hill. APU fire test is looking good. Recall for 3 seconds. And 3. Nothing in here. Status page is clear as well. So let's go ahead and start the APU in order to get some air conditioning running. Alright, APU is coming up. Then we can do some preliminary performance calculations here while we're waiting for the APU. So let's go on a takeoff, synchronize the current weather. And it's a dry runway. Well, that looks a bit strange here. All of those numbers are looking a bit strange indeed, so I don't quite think those are accurate. Alright, tell you what, let's go ahead and find those charts in order to determine the actual numbers. So Boston Airport ground charts. Here we go, we're departing runway 4 right, that's 3,050 meters. Is that really nowhere in feet? Oh boy, okay. Well, in that case, we can just say 3,000 times 5, so yeah, give me 9,000 feet over here. That's probably still on the conservative side. Okay, runway heading should be 035, not 19 point something. 035. The wind, calm, and the rest is looking good. So, for the takeoff weight, we've got, well, basically 500,000 pounds, so takeoff weight, let's make that 500.0. Okay, config 2, air conditioning off, and calculate. So, performance limited weight is 571, that's very good. And then the APU is running as well now, so APU bleed on. Seatbelt signs on since boarding has started, and that's that part. Alright, so far so good. Then let's confirm that our aircraft is indeed ready for service. Oxygen quantity is checked, hydraulic quantities are all checked. Then let's check for the engine oil quantity. Turn on the FADEC switches. And here we go, that's looking good as well. Alright, excellent. So the flaps agree with the lever, the speed brakes are retracted, and the parking brake is set. And that's everything we needed to know. Wonderful. Well, let's go into the overhead panel and do our standard pre-flight procedures up here. And that's all looking good. We do want the PA active up here so that it gets recorded. Voice recorder test not modeled for the time being. Then let's have a look at the latest weather over here. QNH 3022. Well, that's an interesting bug. Look at that, I can only change the QNH in hectopascals and the inches stay unchanged. Well, that is a bug for sure. But let's make it easy. Let's change it up here. Oh, and that's changing. Very interesting. That's some interesting new bug. In any case, that's 1023, so that is now dialed in. Fine enough. Not perfect, but it shall serve our purpose. Alright, weather radar is on WX plus T, tilt going on, and ground control is active. Then the transponder is set to above, the rest is looking good. Well, and with that we're already going into the FMS. So A330-300 CF6 engine, nav database current at the time of this recording. Then let's go ahead and request our flight plan. Boston to Honolulu, alternate Kaului, Delta 438, cost index 15, flight level 360. So wind data, you can uplink yourself as well, and checking and clearing all those crash pad messages. Quick check, there is nothing currently stored in terms of pilot waypoints. Alright, that's good, then let's go. Boston 04 right, and we're departing via the Highland 7 departure, which is up here, and insert. So, arrival, ILS Zulu, approach runway 04 right. No stars, really? There should be stars. I know you won. Not in here, it seems. Okay, that makes our life a little bit more interesting. In that case, let's just insert it like that, and then we'll have to enter that star manually. That's a little bug here, of course. So, PHNL. Let's dig that up. Arrivals. I know you want arrival. We can already pin that one. Okay, and we're coming in from Pearly, which we don't even have on the chart. Very interesting. Let's check that on the flight plan one more time. From Bitar. And we do have Bitar. Alright, perfect. Then we'll enter it from there. So we've got Bitar. I don't know what it's inserted after that, but we will get rid of that. So clear U. Oh, I know what it's inserted there, and we should not have cleared that. Alright, tell you what, we'll reinsert this. Yankee, insert, and Zulu, insert. Alright, all the way down to the airport. So, after Bitar, we proceed towards Masona. Yeah, probably the first one up here. From there, we continue to Bows. What are you doing? Oh boy, that's a bug. So we should be able to insert several waypoints without having to press insert all the time. Okay, so that's number one. So up here, from Bows towards Hispo. Alright, then from Hispo we continue down towards Bambo. Gotta be that first one here. Then on towards INET. And then towards Inouye. And then for landing runway 04 we continue by Hubab. And thereafter on a radar vector. Now let's go ahead and check those constraints. So Bitar is above flight level 250. Then Bows doesn't have a restriction. Going on to Hispo, 270 knots above 17,000. Continuing to Bamboo, which is between 10 and 15. You can't enter that in an Airbus. So what I'm gonna do is I'll insert it like this. 250 knots and below 15,000. Then INET is above 8,000. From there towards Inouye, 230 knots and above 8,000. And then to Hubab, 220 knots at 7,000. Alright, so 4,512 nautical miles, and on here it's 4,501 nautical miles. That's close enough for me to be happy with this routing. Okay, then we can go back into our Boston charts and check our SID. So airport, we have already pinned the aerodrome ground chart and now also the parking chart. Then departures, runway 4 right, and we want the Highland 7 departure. So off 4 right is straight at 520, then towards Nant, right into Herbie above 4000, and then via Stacy towards Sophia onto Shan, and then a left-hand turn to Highland. Alright, that looks fairly easy to me, and that looks fairly correct to me. Alright, cool, so secondary, copy active, and then we've got the emergency waypoint, Boston X, I don't know, name it 2. Database, okay, then we add it manually. So, Boss X2, and that's off K Boss 04 right / 035 and 25 miles. So let's try that one more time. Boss X2. Here we go, that's correct. Enter a holding of 1 minute lag time. And from here we need to do an immediate return. So new destination, Boston, arrivals, 4 right, insert. Very good, then let's continue on over here on the fix page. Okay, Boss 04 right. And the radial is 035, and the emergency waypoint Boss X2 going in here. Perfect. Nothing on the radios. We can insert the departure and return runway down here on the fix page, and then let's go on to the init pages. So, zero fuel weight. The plan is 339.0. Alright, block fuel, what do we have? 160.9. That's entered. Then let's go down a bit in the flight plan. So, alternate 5.7, final 5.1. Okay, so for the trip wind, we'll have an average wind component of 33 knots headwind. And then let's get on to the performance. So, takeoff data, we are doing a conv2 takeoff at 45 degrees flex. And then we have takeoff speeds of 160, 167 and 169. Pretty fast. Even for an A330 that is pretty fast. So, noise abatement procedure 1. Engine out at 1500. D-rate 1. Okay, and that's our FMS setup pretty much completed. Then going up here, the QNH is set already, EFSCP is set, initial to 5000. You can give me constraints. And flight directors are on as well. Perfect. So that's all we can ask for. Let's see, have they simulated the oxygen test properly now? Almost. Well, that's better than nothing. Alright, cool. So far, so good. Then I suggest we go straight into the briefing, please. Alright, so let me start over here. We're departing Boston, runway 04 right on the Island 7 departure, and the initial climb takes us up to 5,000 feet. MSA on this one is 2,500 feet, and engine out straight at 425. Alright, extra fuel? Well, basically none. Alright, thank you very much. So, what are we gonna do then? No hotspots for the taxi routing, but we are crossing runway 4 left, or at least the extended centerline orbit, so good look outside as we're taxiing. In general, I find Boston rather complicated, so very good look outside while we're rolling. Engine out sits straight ahead for 25 miles, and in case of an immediate return, above the max landing weight, but we have an ILS approach pre-programmed. If we have time available, we are going to do the overweight landing procedure. If we have no time available, then we'll just come back straight away and, yeah, start the APU, turn on the APU bleed. That's going to relieve the engines, and that's all we need here. Alright, apart from that, nothing special, nothing non-standard. Do you see any threats? AI traffic, yeah, so good look outside, again. Not much we can do about it. And that's our briefing completed, so let's do the cockpit preparation checklist, please. Gear pins and covers, removed, fuel quantity. So, that's 160,000.9 pounds balanced. Seatbelts on, ADRs, nav and barrel ref, QNH 3022. Cockpit preparation checklist completed. Alright, so far so good. Then, let's see what GSX is up to. Boarding completed. Wonderful. So prepare position for pushback and departure, please. Ground flight deck. Hello there, good morning. Good morning. Please confirm doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment is removed, and the bypass pin is installed. That's all confirmed, that's all removed, and we are ready to push when you are ready. Thank you very much, we'll do the final numbers and call you back. So, zero fuel with the load sheet is 339, CG 26.4. 339/26.4. 160.9, takeoff weight 498.7 versus 499.9. The rest is taxi fuel, that's fine. Alright, very good. So, ground flight. Yeah, go. Okay, so, push approved, and the parking brake is set. Roger, standby 1. Before start checklist. So, parking brake, set. Takeoff speeds and thrusts. V1 160, VR 167, V2 169, flex 45. Windows. Closed, beacon on, before start checklist complete. So, one last thing while I notice it. Gross weight CG 27.4, and that is roughly over here. Let's say, what's that, up 3.5-ish? Alright, cool. So, ground flight. With clear to push. Position echo. Roger, pushing position echo, release brakes please. Brakes released. Thank you very much. Start on the push and stand by. Okay, so the company 321 is passing behind, but he will be gone by the time we actually get there. So that's fine with me. And then, here we go. So, position echo is right over here. Feels good to be back on the A330. We've flown so many different aircraft types in the meantime. But the 330 is just an A330. That alone is sufficient to like it, isn't it? Alright, we cleared the road, starting engines 1 and 2 in that sequence. Clear 1, 2. Engine 1 starts. I gotta say, the Flight Tampa Boston scenery looks really amazing in FS 2024. Really, really amazing. Alright, the engine start is looking pretty good now. Pushback is complete, set brakes. Park and brake set, and we've got a good start on 1, starting 2. Clear 2. Engine 2 start. So let's monitor the engine startup, see if they did some work on that. N2 and N1 are increasing. So, typical A330, even though you see fuel flow already, the EGT takes a little while until it actually starts to rise. That's actually correct. The real airplane does that. Wherever that is. Okay. And we have 2 good engine starts. You're clear to disconnect. Show me the pin on the right hand side, please. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye. Okay, the plane's auto-trimmed itself. Very good. And then there she is, holding the pin. Clear signal received. Very good. After start checklist, please. Anti-ice, off, ecom status, checked, pitch trim, it's 27.4%, rudder trim, neutral, after start checklist complete. Alright, so, brake released, clear right side, clear left side. Then, let's go, and let's bring that ground shot up here, as that's really going to help us. So we're standing right up here, Terminal Echo International. We are gonna taxi via Alpha. And I think it's via Alpha and then straight ahead over here, Quebec onto Bravo, all the way down. Okay, cool. So, brake check. Pressure 0. And a very small check in the throttle settings down here. I did set that idle detent earlier, but looks like it needed that again. Here we go. That's better. Alright, everything is clear on the left side, and the right side's clear as well. Beautiful Qatar A350 over there. And is that a Lufthansa A340? I think it is. Looking quite amazing as always. Yep, certainly an A340. So he is just about behind the line on his parking spot there, which is good. Cathay A350, that guy's had a long way coming here. Very long way coming here. Right, we're turning across that first turn. And then we're eventually looking for Quebec to go on to Bravo. I think that should be after the next turn over here. Let's see, November to the left, and that means we are right over here. So after the turn, first one to the left and then to the right onto Bravo. JetBlue A321. Old one, doesn't even have the chocolates yet. Alright, and this over here is where we are going to transition on to Bravo. So we're clear on both sides. Then we'll turn left over here. Very nice texturing on the taxiway here. I like those several different layers of asphalt you've got on here. Okay, cool. So it looks like all those aircraft are going to runway 4 right. That means we are not in any hurry. But nonetheless, I have no changes to the takeoff briefing. Anything from you? No? Perfect. Okay, the cabin is ready as well. Then let's go for the taxi checklist, please. Flight controls. Oh yeah, we wanted to do those while taxiing. Okay, flight control check. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Rudder. Oh, look at that, the steering disconnect button isn't working. That's fine, then we'll just keep it, well, we know the rudder works. We did already taxi around a couple of turns, so I'm happy with that. Alright, cool, so taxi checklist again. Flight controls, checked. Flap setting, config 2, radar and predictive wind shear, on and auto, engine start selector, norm, ECAM memo, takeoff no blue. Taxi checklist complete. Okay, we're clear on either side. You can see I'm not in any rush to speed to that runway, because there are still 4 aircraft standing there in front of us. Okay, entering the approach area of runway 4 left. There's no traffic ahead of us. Nonetheless, let's turn on that strobe light. Okay, down to 10 knots for the turn. Looking pretty amazing, isn't it? Okay, crossing the extended center line right now. There's your runway. And then the question is, why is there nobody departing off runway 4 right? Because I see a lot of aircraft standing there, but nobody either landing or taking off. There's no one on that runway over there, is there? No. Huh. Flight Simulator AI. Alright, but in that case I see no choice but to kill the AI. If it's not going, then yeah. Then it's probably a Boeing. Alright, that was a bad one. Pun not intended. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. Line up checklists. Takeoff runway. That's 4 right, bravo. TCAS, TARA, PAX 1 and 2, off, lineup checklist complete. Alright, and we burned 900 pounds of taxi fuel. That's not too bad, actually. So, clear on the approach, and clear on the left. Are you ready for rolling takeoff? I suppose that's a yes. So, some proper oversteering technique here. And that's perfect. Okay. Takeoff. Manflex 45, SAS runway, auto thrust blue. Thrust set. Knots, checked. Rotate. That was tight. That was pretty tight. Positive climb. Gear up. Man, I don't like that speed. Man, Toga. That was probably too little takeoff thrust. Not sure why that calculation didn't work. We should normally have 15 degrees of pitch, not 11. 11 is what you have at max takeoff weight with an engine inoperative. Thrust climb, open climb, auto thrust. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Oh, it went into go around mode. Interesting. Because why not? So going to Toga just apparently messed something up here. We'll fix that in a few moments. For now, let's fly the aircraft. Flaps 0. Speed checked, flap 0. Full speed 250. Autopilot 1. So, quick check down here. It's in descent mode, so it's probably just deleted the cruise altitude when we put the thrust levers into Toga. Yeah, you can have Pack 2 as well. Here you go. So, normally just re-entering the cruising altitude fixes that. So let's see. 360. Alright. Alright, now we're in climb phase. Perfect. Always an adventure. Managed speed, it maintains 250, perfect. Climb. So a little bit of surprise there with the performance, but overall we are up in the air and we are now on the way to Hawaii. Now I'm just wondering, that was really a little bit too close for my likes, especially V1. Had we rejected at that V1, I'm 100% sure we would have gone over the runway end. So just a quick check, 4 left. We even entered just 9,000 feet, which is 4 left. But with those 9,000 feet it should have calculated a takeoff anyway. Let's just try 4 right. As you can see, that's even longer. But it shouldn't have made a difference, so calculate. Look at that, same flex temperature. But the heading is off a little bit. The weather is also okay. Calm winds, 5 degrees, 3022. It would even have been a little bit of headwind, so I don't quite see the difference there. Altimeter is 3021 now. Well, apart from that, 500,000 pounds is correct. Conf 2 was correct, air conditioning was correct. No, I don't see the problem. I really don't see the problem. Well, the good thing is, if we can't see the problem, then the problem is probably not us, but probably rather the performance software. Alright, passing 10,000. Why do you have a 270 restriction? I don't quite see that. Manage 270, yeah. And let's also remove the climb derate. Let's re-enter that. So, thrust decline 1. Continue on to 20,000 for now. And then clear and copy, please. So, you're going out, there's nothing in here, and copy active. Alright, 360 versus 354 versus 369. Suppose that's good enough for 360. And why are you on 1.5? I have a feeling it's taking the descent constraints that I've manually entered, and it's using those for the climb. That's of course nonsense. So tell you what, we'll go up to level 360. Bottom climb out cruise, level 360 blue. Do we still have a top of descent? Yes, we do. Okay. Default minus 99, I, to be honest, don't see that. Especially since it still assumes to climb up to cruising level in here. Well, over here it says 15,000. Does it not calculate anything else? Oh, come on. This little thrust lever to toga thing seems to have messed with the FMC logic quite a bit. But okay, in that case, his PO is 19 or above, that's okay. Where is that 15,000 restriction? Here it is. Bye-bye. That's better. That's much better. Climb. Alright, perfect. That was the change we needed. Well then, let's see. Step climb at Oscar November Lima, flight level 380. Let's see if they implemented any of that by now. So, step outs at Oscar November Lima /380. Here's that. And then we have flight level 400 at Barras. Here we go. Okay, perfect. Estimated fuel on board 30,000 pounds, and that is an extra of 2 hours. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. But tell you what, no sense discussing that now. If that's how the aircraft works, then that's how the aircraft works. Let's fly there and see what we are actually going to have. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. We're getting closer to Honolulu. Let's go ahead and start setting up for our approach into our destination airport. I'm gonna start with some basics. We are overflying Beta right now, so let's see if we can chime in a quick fuel check to see how we're doing. So Beta, we should have 26,000 pounds and 10 hours in the air, and we are 10 hours and 9 in the air, took a tiny bit longer, and 26,000 pounds exactly, so we're running pretty good on the fuel. We did climb to level 380 straight away. Well, to be completely fair, I didn't intend to, but for some reason the airplane didn't stop the climb, and obviously I didn't notice because I was doing something else. Welcome to the flight sim world. But once we were in 38,000, we could maintain that anyway. Always remember that you can go higher than the rec max, unless it's at the airplane's absolute ceiling, of course, because this is based on a 1.3 G buffet margin, but by legislation you only need 1.2. You can calculate that on your EFB, then you can climb higher than the rec max. Apart from that, I did maintain level 380 throughout the flight, mostly because it was smooth over here, and I didn't want to risk climbing into one of those turbulent areas. Especially oceanic, that's a point to consider, because, well, once you have changed your level, it's a lot of work for ATC to get you back down, especially because someone else might have climbed to that level in the meantime while you vacated it. So there's always that. But let's go ahead and start to prepare ourselves for the arrival into Honolulu. The latest weather 108, gust 15, few clouds, 28 degrees, altimeter 3009. Which is now set once, and oh yeah, broken down here. Yeah, set up here, that's kind of fine for me. Then, now comes the big question, if our charts are still working. Anyone want to take some bets? They are! Excellent! So that's been fixed with Sim Update 1. I do love to see it. Alright, very cool. So, we've already pinned our star. Let's go ahead and pin the approach as well. ILS Zulu runway 4 right. And then we can take the ground chart and the parking chart. We no longer need those Boston charts. And gonna get back there. And of course I just removed my Honolulu star. That's fine. Runway 4 right, and we got the SU1 arrival. Alright, very cool. So let's go ahead and reinsert that altitude restriction here. Those 15,000 over at Bambo, which I have removed in the climb earlier on because the airplane had some issues with its speed restrictions. So 250 / below 15,000 at Bambo. It wants to be in 13 anyway, so that's totally fine. I've got it correctly, and that's good. Alright, perfect. So, arrival at 0129 UTC. What's the schedule again? Always got to make sure that we are on time. 2:14. Perfect. So we are absolutely on time. Alright then, so we have already checked the arrival earlier on during our pre-flight, so I'm not going to do that again. So let's go right into the final approach. Starting in Derby. And let's see, Derby is above 2000. Why does it say 1500 on here? No, that's wrong. But we are not allowed to modify it. But it's an ILS, so that shall not be much of a problem for us anyway. Apart from that, what else are we doing? Runway 4 right, and Mr. Broach straight at 540 on a heading 042, that's correct. Then a right-hand turn 220 to intercept the radial 171 outbound from Honolulu towards Alana at 3000. That's perfectly fine for me then. Alright, cool. So that much for the basics of our flight. And for the basics of our FMS, we can tune Honolulu Vioha, Hotel November Lima, in here with the 171 radial. You don't need to, but I kind of find a good habit. Probably flown too many 737s in my life. Then PHNL04 right. We'll be here, and for the arrivals, descending at 0.79 to 90. Well, let's make it 0.8 and 300 really. Making our life a little bit easier there. Okay, cool. So that's in. Let's insert our weather data up next. So we've got 108 gust 15. 108. The temperature is 28 and the QNH 3009 R. So 28 and 30.09 R. Like that. Minimum for the arrival, we do have 5.2% go around, so we can take 260 feet. And then let's see how long that runway really is. So 04 right, 2,700 meters, that's fine with me. Vacating at the end then and taxi back via Alpha. That's cool, we can do that. So we are gonna go with a config 3 landing for that, since we gotta let it roll to the end anyway. Okay, cool, so that's set, and in case of missed approach we need our acceleration altitude. Let's get that from the chart again. So the missed approach altitude is 3000, the MSA 4400, so let's use 3000 as engine out acceleration. Extra fuel an hour and a half, interesting, and well, the weather is copied, and that's all our setup done. Very nice. So, runway 4 right is of course one that I got a couple comments on last time, and they do land on runway 08 quite a bit as well, so that option does exist. I kind of like the approach to 4 right though, and that's simply the reason why I'm doing it. I don't know, it just thinks it looks a little bit cooler to arrive in there. But obviously I'm aware that they are landing on runway 8 left in the real world. Alright, cool. And that's that part of the arrival done. Then let's go ahead and start to do our approach briefing, please. So that's for you, FO. Thank you very much. So we're coming in via the Alini arrival for an ILS Zulu approach runway 04 right, minimums 260, go around straight at 540, right turn 220, intercept radial 171, climbing 3000, and the MSA is 4400. Alright, thanks for that. So what we are gonna do is flight director guided ILS approach. Maybe we'll swing over for a visual onto runway 8 left later on, just to be 100% sure. Is it 8 or 9? I think it's 8. Yeah, 08 left. So we might just establish ourselves on the arrival into 4 right, and then do a visual breakout, landing on 08 left. Now, we are going to do that using config 3 for the arrival, and we have no specials, and we have nothing non-standard. Stop margin is unfortunately not calculated by our electronic flight bag, and for the taxi in, well, we don't really have any specials over here, do we? So, after we've done the visual swing, come in over here and then vacate, most likely Yankee or Hotel, maybe Kilo, and then taxi to the terminal over here. I believe we're parking somewhere over here, and we'll see about that when we are on the ground. Alright, cool. And in terms of threats, I don't really have anything, do you? Terrain display? Still not simulated, otherwise I would have brought that up due to the high terrain that we've got on the island, but that's it. Any questions? No? Wonderful, so that's our approach briefing completed. Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, this is your captain speaking. In a few moments we'll start our descent towards Honolulu, and the remaining flight time is now about half an hour. We expect very good weather conditions, light wind from the east, and the temperature 28 degrees centigrade. Thank you very much for choosing to fly with Delta today. We hope you enjoyed your flight as much as we did, and we look forward to welcoming you again on board of a future service. Thank you very much for your attention, and we hope to see you again soon. Okay, cool. Passengers are briefed, and then let's see if there's any nice direct we can take. Probably to Bambo or something the likes. Let's do that. Direct to Bambo, and insert. Alright, cool. So with that, pretty much ready for descent. Top of descent in 5 miles. Then let's start going down. And yeah, tell you what, let's make it 10,000 straight away. So, descent alt, flight level 100 blue, set QNH. QNH 3009, a cross check passing 38,000. Now. Checked. Alright, fasten seatbelts on. And that's everything over here complete. I see you a little bit further down on the approach. And we're approaching and passing 10,000, turning onto the downwind leg for the ILS approach runway 4 right. Let's quickly tell the aircraft to continue the descent here down to 6,000, and then we can first of all run the 10,000 foot checks. So lights are on, signs are on, then we've got constraints selected. We can select LS for the initial part of the approach down here. Auto brake remains off, and then we've got GPS primary with a high accuracy. Alright, and that's these checks completed. So let's take a moment now to discuss how exactly we are actually gonna fly this procedure. So, as mentioned before, we start with the ILS Zulu approach to runway 04 right. Now, we're gonna fly the approach until roundabout Pearly. Then we make a breakout to the left, and via that little river down here, we are gonna turn towards the final. Gotta make sure that we don't overshoot the center line. So as you can see, there's a restricted area over here, over the harbor and the city. So that's the general idea. Now, something we can do is to remove the minimum down here, since we have decided on the visual approach. But, nonetheless, since we just want to be 100% sure that we can actually fly the circling. Remember, we can land on 4 right as well. I'm keeping that in for the time being. So, basically, once we have the airport and the runways in sight, once we know for sure that we are going to circle onto runway 08 left, then I'm going to remove the minimum. By the way, what's our aircraft doing over here? Look at how nicely it's violating the 8,000 foot restriction. That's definitely a new bug. Didn't used to do that in the old version. Alright, well, in that case, level off in 7, please. So 7,000 and speed 250 for the time being. Now let's take a moment to talk about how we are gonna fly the approach and which modes we're going to use, which selections on the FCU we are going to make. In general, breaking out from an ILS approach is nothing complicated. So disconnect the autopilot, deselect the flight directors, bring the bird into view. Let's see if the bird is fixed, by the way. So bring up the bird, and that's it. That's all we've got to do. Then we can simply brake out and circle onto runway 8 left. One thing we got to do though, which I forgot a bit earlier on, is to set up the secondary flight plan for that. So let's insert the ILS runway 8 left in here. And the reason we do this is so that we have ground speed mini available on final. Remember, ground speed mini always works based on the weather data you've entered and the runway heading. So if you've got an incorrect runway in your FMS, then ground speed mini isn't going to work. For this reason, once it is assured that you can complete the approach and the landing on the circling runway, then and only then you can activate the secondary where you have programmed the landing runway. But remember, activating the secondary flight plan is going to remove the missed approach from your approach runway. And always remember, if you go around during the circling, you've got to return to the missed approach of the approach runway. So, little complicated once you have actually removed your active flight plan and replaced it with a secondary. That's part of the reason, by the way, why I tuned the Honolulu VOR with the radial 171 down here, so that we have some sort of a conventional backup available for that. Alright, and that's the basic idea of how I plan to fly the approach. Now, remember, circling approach, we've got to be completely stabilized, centerline and altitude by 300 feet. We got to minimize maneuvering below 500 feet, and the aircraft's got to be on any of the stabilized approach criteria except for what we mentioned, so on speed, on configuration, on thrust, by 1000 feet. Well, and with that in mind, approach checklist please. Barrel reference, QNH 3009er, seatbelts on, minimum. Well, for now, Barrow 260, auto brake, off, engine start selector, norm, approach checklist complete. Alright, very cool. So that's the setup for the time being. So then, we have a 7,000 foot restriction over at QBAP, 220 knots, and there was a 230 knot restriction over in Nui. Why is it ignoring that? Have they really made it that much worse with the latest update? Screenshot of that, and that's gotta go into a bug report. Alright, in any case, as I said on departure, if the plane doesn't do what you want it to do, you make it do what you want it to do. Speed 220, activate approach phase. Here we go. Interesting, it knows that there's a speed error. It just, I don't know. I'll certainly have to do a second flight to see if we caused all these issues. Well, we didn't cause them, but if we triggered them by activating Toga just after we got airborne and didn't achieve a proper rate of climb. That's my theory right now, that activation has kind of led to all those issues. Alright, thrust idle open descent, heading Alt 4000 blue. So, typical US airport, is it? No? Yes. Okay, look at that. 6.2 DME on the ILS equals 4.5 miles to final. So, round about a 2-mile difference between the two. Always got to look that up when you are approaching an airport in the US. So, a couple of clouds might be a little bumpy, but once we're through that, we should have perfect weather conditions for the arrival. Now, actually, I want to try something. Let's go auto brake low and see if they fixed the rollout distance. Now, what was wrong previously with the auto brakes? They were too effective. Auto brake low in the A330 should take you some 2,200, 2,300 meters. And it felt more like 1,800 to 1,700 even in the ini-built 330. So, a little bit of work required on that still. Right then, let's turn right, heading 300 to go on Oh, that was a bit fast. To go onto the base leg. Here we go. Then radial indirect to Derby. And let's see what the approach course is. 042, so 222 is the radial. And that looks correct. Here we go. Normally it shouldn't change the target heading when you insert the direct, but that's a little bug right now. Right, flaps 1, and you can give me the speed brake to get us down into the path. 12 miles out from the center line, a little bit of tailwind here. Let's continue right, heading 310, but we're approaching the glide slope nicely, so that's all good for the time being. Alright, cool. So, 2 miles from centerline I will start the final turn. I'll go a bit below the glide slope so that we can reduce our speed in a few moments. And here we are, 2 miles from centerline, right 010, cleared ILS 04 right. Circle to land, 08 left. Okay, managed speed. Speed brake coming in. Cat 3 dual, autopilot 1 and 2, lock star, glide slope blue. So what's this? Clean speed should be 205. Where is the green dot? There's something really messed up with this. Like, really messed up. Actually no, that one's on me, we're in flaps 1 already. Alright, the S speed is showing nicely. That one's on me. It's been a long flight, a pretty long flight. And it's like, what, 2:33 in the morning for my time. So, 10 miles out, 200 knots ground speed, absolutely perfect. And we are flying ourselves nicely into the glide slope over here. That's exactly how it should be done. That is absolutely perfect right now. I like that. Lock. Okay, so let's see. 10 hours 42. Quite a long flight, isn't it? Alright, flaps 2. Speed checked. Flaps 2. Speed, glide slope star. Go around altitude 3000 set.
2,500.
Gear down. Glide slope. So, typical A330, the speed just doesn't want to come back. Alright, and flaps 3. Speed checked, flaps 3. And it looks like we really need a bit of speed brake here, so let's get that out. Cabin should be ready by now. So now we're just waiting for the spoilers here. Speed's coming back nicely. Then let's start our breakout. Autopilot off. Flight directors off. Bird on. Alright, the speed is down nicely. So LS off. Here we go. And the speed is down. Cool. Spoilers armed. Landing checklist. Eco memo. Landing no blue. Landing checklist complete. Alright, we'll go over those fields over there. So, activate secondary. Checked. Do we have an ILS over here? Yes, we do. Alright, so let's get that up, just as a little aid. We don't really need it, but it doesn't hurt either. Water thrust is a little bit unresponsive here, is it? Let's add a couple knots to the approach. Let's make that 140. So our landing runway is over there.
500.
Come on, auto thrust, what are you doing? So maintaining the 500, let's turn final. Oh, toga thrust. Nice. I like it. Oh, what's it doing now? Oh, that's interesting. Come on, stop bugging around. Just give me 140. Alright, going through 500, and we are nicely on the final. Pitch is a little bit excessive, to be honest. It shouldn't be that much. Should be like 4.5. So we're on the puppy at 300. Very good.
200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Spoilers, reverse green, decel. For a moment I looked at the FMA and I was like, why is there no BTV? Certainly flown too many A380s and A350s recently. Right, manual brakes. In my opinion, the brakes are still a little bit too good, probably. Still a little bit too good. So, 10 hours and 46. I love it. Then, let's vacate it to the left. So, that exit might be a little bit more than just 30 degrees, so speed a bit below 30 knots. Alright, and here we are. Welcome to Honolulu. Now let's go and find our gate. That's gonna be number 51, I believe it is. The one on the side just over there. So, fairly easy going. After landing checklist, radar and predictive wind shear off, after landing checklist complete. Okay, so GSX, and now comes the big question, which terminals are these? Let's have a look. Aerodrome parking chart. Terminal 2? Probably. So, Terminal 2, Golf 1. No follow me needed, thanks, and handling by Delta. Perfect, over here they are. So, that's our lead in line right over there. So, lights off. APU is still starting, that's okay. Okay, cool. Marshal is inside over there. Let's reduce that speed a bit, 6 knots, and over. Into the gate we go. My personal last check, lights are off, weather radar is off. Has anyone else noticed the recent lag in the GSX marshalling? And stop. Alright, so APU is on bus, shutdown, cabin crew, all doors in park. And with that, welcome to Honolulu, everyone. So let's go ahead and request deboarding already. You guys can get to work. Engines are nice and down. Beacon off, fasten belts off. Here we go. So, parking checklist please. Park and brake our trucks. Brake set. Engines off. Fuel pumps off. Parking checklist complete. A very nice 10 hours and 46. A tad low on the visual approach. Do have to admit that. Had to level off at 500 and then later on a tiny bit at 300 in order to make our landing gates. But yeah, that's what happens when you are flying on a 2D screen here instead of, you know, being able to look around, see everything a bit nicer. That's just a tiny bit of a difference here between flight simulation and real life in my taste. In any case, guys, we've made it all the way to Honolulu. I hope you enjoyed this one. Be sure to leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video. As always, like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.